Hello everyone, Bookham Dano here with Peanut. This is another episode of Comics and Cocktails, or
matcha latte.
Is that a tea?
It's a tea, but the last time we did comics and cocktails, I drank too much, so I'm still recovering from that episode.
All right, well, I'm glad you know your limitations.
I don't. Don't.
All right, so last time, Peter kind of interviewed me, asked me some questions about how I got started and everything, so I thought we'd turn the tables this time and try to find out a little bit more about you.
So please don't unsubscribe. It will turn into his channel again. It's just, it helps with boredom.
She's paranoid that y'all don't like her.
Humans in general.
It's starting to make sense now?
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's bad movement. Cheers. There you go.
And welcome.
Thanks.
Okay. So, start off with an easy one here.
And he wrote these all himself. I don't know what's coming, so if I look terrified, that's why.
Alright. It's going to be okay. So what first drew your attention to graphic novels and comics?
Well, it was before you started collecting comics. You were still collecting rare books, antiquarian type books and stuff like that. And we would go book scouting, hunting for, remember those? Those were fun.
Yeah, I do.
And we would always go to this one bookstore, and it had this really cool basement. And I was collecting Perry Masons.
That's right, yes.
They're all up there. And
because they have some fantastic covers.
Because I like the covers. And the stories are really good, too.
Yeah.
They really are, even though they're old and stuff. But, and from afar, this struck my attention. Phantom Lady. And I had no idea what this was, who she was, or anything. And I started to read it, and it was really fascinating. And then when you started collecting comics, it's one of the most sought after books, characters.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
how much could one of these go?
Well, I mean, these trades are kind of
trades.
typical, trades. But you can see this collects some really sought after books. So Police Comics, I think it's number 1. Yeah, Police Comics number 1 is the first appearance of Phantom Lady. It's also the first appearance of Plastic Man. So it's a pretty sought after book. It is definitely a 4-figure book and higher in high grade. And then Phantom Lady in her own right, she's in a bunch of police comic stories, and then I don't know if you can see these, but then she got her own title. And these featured a lot of like Matt Baker covers. So
really
there's
cool.
like some typical Golden Age female characteristics and everything, but they're really sought after covers. And if you can find one, that's awesome. I've looked. They come up for auction, like especially at like heritage auctions, but they're usually, they're always out of my price range. But they're fun, and this was probably the first.
This was the
first graphic novel that we
the very first graphic novel
we acquired,
we ever got.
and
we had nothing.
And that was all on. That was all you.
Just because I liked the way it looked.
So yeah, that's a cool story. So it's kind of a follow-up to that. I know superheroes really aren't your thing.
Right.
So what do you like to read? What do you look for in a graphic novel?
That's a good question. Well, it's not that I don't like superheroes. It's more, I like noirs, because that's what I like to read and watch. And if you can find a good writer like Ed Brubaker, he can really write a good noir. Mysteries, anything kind of like mystical or magical. I like reading books that are like, I liked March, like things that are on like real topics, like so the civil rights. That was what March was about, and then anything where the character has some kind of like, I don't know, what would you call
vulnerability?
it? Yeah, like he's an outcast or something, like those kind of books. I'm kind of drawn to those. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool that you found, because you found Brubaker's writing.
Yeah.
And you were so excited about several of the ones you read that I kind of felt like I had to read them. And
yeah, you did.
That's a good way to put it, because it was definitely a had to. Like, you have to read this. But I'm so glad I did, because the writing is so good. We've liked, noir movies for 10 plus years.
I've liked them my whole life.
Yeah.
But
So we've, things like the Asphalt Jungle,
Gaslight,
yeah.
Double Indemnity.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
Yeah. So, and the Brubaker stories are just like right out of, that kind of...
right out of the 40s.
Right out of the 40s, exactly. The scenes are all very, familiar if you like those noirs. And Brubaker is a great writer too. We just through Galactic Greg's and one of their Facebook sales, we just picked up a run of his Winter Soldier.
And I'll read that.
And I'm looking forward to reading that too.
And that's a superhero. I liked more. I tend to go for more dark stuff. So I like Justice League Dark, Suicide Squad,
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones. I love Jessica Jones. Daredevil. I love Daredevil. I love Fisk. I really I identify with anybody who's like an outcast, even though Fisk is, a mafia mob boss. But if you watch the show and it goes into like his childhood, I felt for him, and that's why we have that piece of art.
Yeah.
Because I always, it's like the underdog. Even if they're doing bad things, I'll still like you.
And I guess in addition to, because you read a lot,
Yes.
You're a very fast reader, much faster than I am, and you've been going through. I would say we have a pretty decent, like trade paperback collection of, there's some hard volumes, omnibus editions, and you've read almost all of them.
Yeah, I devour them.
And I still have a ways to go, but
it's like that one good quality,
You have more than one quality.
I'm a fast reader and I can comprehend. I can read it really fast and comprehend it. It was like the one thing my teacher was like, oh, well, she got that going for her. So, I always appreciated that. I always thought that was like a...
Yeah, that's a great...
It's a good...
Great skill.
There you go.
But in addition to reading, which I know you take a lot of pleasure in, do you also like to collect?
Yes. I like to collect covers, if that's what you mean.
Sure.
Or
whatever.
Well, see, I don't care for like single issue. I don't like to read those because half of it's like advertisements, and then half of it's like promoting another book, and then you have to wait a whole
Right.
other week.
That's the main thing, is like you have to wait for the next issue to come out.
And I'm not a patient person. I wasn't born with patience at all. So that's why I think I collect more like the trades.
Mm-hmm.
And
but you've also like Fade Out by Brubaker.
oh yeah, Brubaker.
She loved that.
Brubaker,
We started with the trades. I read that. I loved it.
yeah.
And and then we went looking for the single issues, and
We're still kind of trying to find good ones to grade.
yeah, we've got we purchased a run of them really cheap, but most of them were in pretty rough shape too.
Yeah.
So they're not really display books, but the covers are really cool, so it's nice to have those. But yeah,
So anything Brubaker, I'll collect. Right now, I'm really into Fattel. So that's 5. 5, and I have 2 out of the 5.
Out of the 5 trades.
Yeah, out of the Criminal. I liked Criminal, but I'm more interested in what they're doing now with like the Bad Weekend, and my favorite people have always been Junkies, like kind of collecting the expanded stories.
Yeah.
So, and
there's a new one coming out. In June?
Oh no, I think it's a little bit later in the year.
Okay. Pulp.
Oh, Pulp. Yeah, Pulp. That one. You must have been looking. Yeah, that one does come out in.
She thinks I don't pay attention. I don't know why.
Yeah, anything like that. Yeah.
So, you've talked about some of the writers you like. Are there any artists that you appreciate?
Yes. I love Aunt Lucia's work. I love Art Germ. I love Joelle Jones, her work. Sean Phillips. Alex Ross. Hello. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that I.
What did you bring with it?
Oh, well, you asked me to pick my favorite covers. So this is a Art Germ Catwoman signed by him. So it's the old school Catwoman, and then you see it's like the old school Robin and Batman pulling back the cover. So that one, and then also
this is a great.
Yeah, show that one. Yeah.
This up there. I'm sure you've all have seen it. It's the cover for Catwoman number 12. Joelle Jones wrote it. It's the Art Germ. Art Germ did
Jim
a very
Lee. Jim
cover.
Lee's work. Frank Cho.
So.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists. And then I guess this goes with like the collecting is more of like the really, really, really old school.
Yeah, so this is from 1948, I believe.
Yeah.
It's Petty Divine, and the covers are really funny.
Yeah, well, I really like Millie the Model, and we were there was so we were dealers at a con one year, or this past year.
Yeah, earlier this year.
And
feels like 5 years ago.
It does. And my friend told me, she was like, you're gonna get tested because this is like a guy's world. And I was like, okay, well, welcome to my life, I know. And this guy came and he was looking through the dollar box, flipping through, and he asked if there was a Millie the Model. And I about like choked. I was like, oh, okay, you're dumb. But I was like, if it's in there, you're looking through the dollars. Because Millie the Model, even for a 4.5, those go for a lot. But those are my favorite covers to get, or Millie the Model, because they're really, really funny. There's this one where she's talking on the phone. She's like, oh, I can't give an interview about my clothing because I'm just too modest. And, I mean, it's just like, it's like humor from back then, but still, it's really funny. I like those kinds of things.
Very cool. Yeah, we told the story on this one.
Yeah, why you got that?
We saw this cover at C2E2 either in 2019 or it might have even been 2018.
Yeah.
And I've been looking for it ever since. And it's just, Hetty walking across the boardwalk at the beach, and she's saying, I bet no one will recognize me with these sunglasses on. And of course, every guy on the beach recognizes her and is running after her and, calling to her.
I firmly believe if you put sunglasses on, you will not be seen. Like the kid in Signs. Like when the kid, I was like, it's in Signs, right? The movie Signs. He puts on the glasses.
I don't remember.
And they're like, they won't see you, or it's in a movie. And when I saw that, I was like, see, the kid's on to something. That's how I feel. I put my shades on, nobody can see me.
All right. I just have one more question for you. You are a creative. If you don't know this, she works in several different mediums. Makes jewelry. She can sketch, draw, do little chalk work. What else you do? Some needlepoint and.
You can tell by my clenched jaw how excited I am that you put it out there. I do a lot.
Anyway.
I do a lot. I am a creative. I've always been a creative.
And you can write.
I write, I draw,
so
I throw things together.
That brings me to, as a creative, do you have any thoughts or aspirations on possibly writing or illustrating a graphic novel someday?
Well, yeah. There's a couple. And if I say them, then people can take them. Because I have really good ideas. So I'm not going to tell you. But yes, I do.
Okay.
Well, I mean, there is one. I mean, because that doesn't make for a fun interview. But if I see it out there, I will be really pissed.
I asked this. Yeah, well, you don't have to tell what the idea is.
Well, I guess.
But we have talked about this before. So
yeah.
There's some stories that I wrote based on some conversations we had, and we kind of had the idea that this would possibly make a good graphic novel. So
yeah, I mean, the graphic novels would be for example, we went to C2E2, and we went to a panel. And they were like, come see our books, because they were mostly about different like anxiety, depression, PTSD, eating disorders, things of that nature.
Mental health stuff.
Mental health stuff. And I walked past one of the books that they were kind of really hyping up at the panel, because I wanted just to see it for myself. And I thought, if somebody was anorexic and read that book, it would trigger them really easily, because the girl was drawn so tiny. So my thought was, why don't you not draw a person who's really, really thin and have her go through the journey of gaining the weight? You know what I mean? Why don't you have her be like a feather? And we've talked about that. And so, instead,
kind of make things more metaphorical.
Yeah, and we've talked,
and hopefully erase some of those triggers in the process.
Yeah, because I was walking past all the books, and I was sweating, and I was getting triggered all over the place. We had to leave pretty fast. I was like, let me go see Batman imploding on somebody, because that will just make me feel better. Those types of things, they kind of are rattled around in my brain. Definitely stories of when I was a kid that Dan really thought was funny. That I've drawn her, and you really liked her, and things like that. But I don't think I'll probably. I mean, you never say never, right? That's the whole key if you're out there. Never say never.
That's right. All right. Hey, thanks for sitting down with me and
Yeah, thanks for having
talking
me.
talking about some comics and sharing a beverage.
Yes, sorry last time. Well, I mean, I just, sometimes I just I don't know when to stop sometimes.
It's all right. I reap all the benefits.
Yeah, you do. All right.
All right.
Well, thanks
Thanks, you
guys.
too.
Have a
Bye.
good one. Bye.